In today's bike check video, we are checking out Red Bull athlete Thomas Genon's Freeride bike. It's a Canyon sender, and interestingly, he runs pretty much the same setup all year round for everything, except perhaps the tyres. Over to Thomas to tell us all about the bike.
Hello, this is Thomas Genon. I am here at Audi Nines and this is my bike check, Canyon Sender Aluminium 2020. So I ride a large frame with a coil shock for now. It's been super fun riding the coil shock for downhill in general. And it's pretty much the same bike setup as usual. I just have a short stem. It's a Canyon stem, it's a new one, super short, feels really nice for downhill and jumping. So it's a really all-around bike, which I really like. You don't have to change much of the settings. My bar is 780 millimeter wide, which always felt nice on my DH bike and on my dirt jumps, but in the last 3 years I've been cutting my bar for the dirt jump bike to 750, so this is the only bar I still use on a 780. For Audi Nines, for this event, which I knew it was not gonna be about downhill, was more gonna be about jumping, I decided to use a more of an enduro tire, which gives me a little more speed in between the jumps. And I kept my all-time favorite front tire, the DHRII. It's very high PSI right now because we kind of try to have more speed in between jumps. So yeah, so it's 2 tubes. It's safer for me to ride with tubes. I like it. I just know that if I go in bike parks, I can just go as hard as I want in lips or in turns and just pretty much do whatever I want and not like blow out my tires. So I like running tubes. They are aluminum 27.5 Novatec wheels. They're just wheels that I can just trust in any situation. These are the wheels I rode at Rampage and they don't move. These are the wheels that I ride when I go to bike park or just ride downhill. I just like these wheels. They are the same all year round on my bike. They feel amazing. For now, I would say my bike would be set up like I would ride it at Rampage. Beside the fact that I have a coil in the back, because the coil was feeling really nice for downhill riding, I usually ride a air shock for jumping. But right now I just kept riding with the coil. I wanted to try it out, and it's a 600, so it's pretty stiff, but I think this is perfect for jumping. And the setting with the forks is pretty much similar than the back. You know, it's just my bike just moved the same, so it's super stiff in the front as well. Rebound. I could just say that my rebound are a little bit slower for jumps on both fork and shock than when I ride downhill. I kind of like having a little bit of rebound when I ride downhill, just to, I don't know, it feels better riding. But here, you know, like you have high speed compression, so I just always click twice to the slowest, and it feels always like a little safer for me. So yeah, this is pretty much my DH bike, just a little adapt for this for this place. So I still use all my gears and everything I would use on a normal downhill weekend. My bike is set up with Shimano parts, and my favorite part from Shimano are definitely the Saint brakes. It's just super consistent and they look good, and I really like the way it feels when I brake. So they are strong. I just like the way I can take my bike and you know, have a bunch of crashes in the weekend and come back home and not be like, oh damn, I have to change my brakes. It just hold all year long, and I'm very stoked on them.
As you can see, it's a Canyon Sender. It's a size large frame based around 27.5-inch wheels. It's the alloy option as opposed to carbon options that we've also seen available from Canyon. And interestingly, he's running a coil shock on there. It's actually the Marzocchi Bomber CR shock. That shock itself is a phenomenal option. If anyone out there is looking for a coil shock, it's very good value for money, and it's really easily tunable by any suspension tuner out there. So even your local place will be able to make that shock feel incredible, and it's a fraction of the cost of some of the more expensive ones. Now he's running his rebound a lot slower than he would for downhill riding. Understandably, when you see the size of the jumps these guys are riding now, you certainly do not want to get kicked up the back when you're hitting jumps as big as this. He's also running loads of high-speed compression. So I think it's a common misunderstanding that people think, oh, you just crank up the rebound and that's going to be fine when you're hitting these bigger jumps. But actually, it shows that Thomas really knows a lot about bike setup, because you want to be absorbing the impact. The whole point is it's stored energy that is being released that you need to control with a rebound. Yeah, but if you can sort of absorb a lot of that energy in compression, i.e. with high-speed compression, then the bike can feel even more controlled on extension. So actually that's a really good tip from Thomas Genon there. Now on the back end, he's running his chainstay in the shorter position. Understandable, you also make the bike feel whippier and feel a bit more, you know, I can throw it around. You definitely get that with shorter chainstays. What you do lose, of course, is the stability. Now up to the cockpit of the bike, Thomas is running a Canyon G5 downhill spec bar. It's actually a very good handlebar as a stock bar that you see on the bikes. It's got 30mm rise on it, so this is a bit of a pattern. All of the free riders are tending to run quite high front ends on the bikes. You've got to think they're really wrenching the bike around off takeoffs and stuff, so it kind of makes sense. 780 wide, whereas he normally runs 750 on all of his other bikes. I love his taste in handlebar grips. He's got a set of what look like ODI mushroom grips, the lock-on variant. I mean, the comfiest grip of all time is the mushroom in the non-lock-on version. It's got more rubber on there, but it's the same thickness. And the mushroom profile is the best for shock absorbing. So if you want to jump off stuff or ride bike parks with loads of braking bumps, those grips are the best. They're just terrible when it gets muddy or sweaty or anything like that, because you've got nothing, you're just sliding along those ridges. But if you want nothing but comfort, check them out. It's a good option. Now, in addition to that 30mm rise bar, it looks like he's also running a 10 and a 5mm spacer under that stem. So it really is quite a jacked up front end. I bet that bike is a manual beast. Now onto the front of the bike, you've got a set of Marzocchi Bomber twin crown forks. I mean, look at these things. It brings back nice memories of when they first came onto the market. 203mm travel, of course, is a Bomber at 58. And like his rear suspension, Thomas is pretty particular about how he wants it run when he's hitting these sort of jumps. I mean, they're huge jumps, just to emphasize that. So very slow rebound and loads of high-speed compression on there for the same reason, absorbing that shock on the impact to basically to just stop the bike being so disturbed on stuff. You know, when you're coming in slightly sideways, really hot from high up, spinning in at crazy angles, you want your bike to feel really predictable when it touches down, and that is the way to do it. As far as wheels go, they're Novatec wheels, and they're actually alloy. They're the Demon XL. They've got 35mm outer on them with a 30mm internal rim width. So loads of support for Thomas's choice of tyres. Now, interestingly, he's not running downhill style tyres. You might think you'd get loads more support from the downhill tyres, but he actually favours the more enduro style casing and a lighter tyre in order to maintain speed between jumps. So that's quite an interesting point of view. So they're the Maxterra compound, so still super tacky compound there, but a much lighter casing. That's a good, interesting point there. And he's also running inner tubes. Perhaps one of those riders that really likes to carve into the takeoffs, where sometimes burping a tyre isn't going to be the best thing. When you're carving the lip of a takeoff of 50-foot set doubles, you want to know that everything stays in place. So completely understand why he's running inner tubes, even though I'd never do that myself. But not that I'm ever going to hit a jump even a quarter that size, so it doesn't matter. It's a pretty dependable transmission, a Shimano Saint 9-speed on there. It's no frills, it's just on and it works. Don't have to worry about it, it's just there and it just does the job. 170mm cranks with a chain guide on there. And he's also running a Chromax saddle. This seems to be quite popular actually, you've seen quite a lot of those these days. I really like his bike, I really like the approach to it, and to To be fair, Thomas is one of the best riders on earth, and he's a very laid-back guy. I can kind of see why. He's got a very dependable bike setup there. I see why he's running the trail spec tyres with inner tubes, and I also see why he's running loads of compression damping on his suspension. Interesting stuff. What do you guys think of Thomas Genon's rad bike? Let us know in those comments underneath, and we'll see you in another video soon. Thanks for hanging around.